Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast. All the things we did not get to during the course of the show today. We were literally just talking about how cold it is in my house, and my wife wears a hoodie, and she loves wearing a hoodie in her pajamas around the house. And I like to wear like what I wore to work, like a short sleeve shirt, my jeans. I should be able to be comfortable in my own house wearing that, and I shouldn't have to put on a jacket. My wife will literally tell me, "Well, why don't you put on a jacket?" Well, because I'm inside, and I'd rather not wear a jacket inside when I have a thing called an AC and a heater that I can control and regulate the temperature to be whatever I want it to be.
Crazy.
I know, right? But I do like it cold to sleep, but I don't need it freezing. I literally will walk out of the house. It's so cold. I'll walk out of the house and stand in my garage for a little bit to thaw out and just remember what summer feels like. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what this is. Okay, we're not in winter. But do you guys, now, Betty, you said you would keep your house colder, right?
I would if I could afford it, yes. Yeah. But it comes back to, I guess I could afford it. It's just that I don't want to pay for something that I don't necessarily need, but I would prefer.
Yeah.
Like, because I would like for it to be colder in my house, but
because you don't have that much square footage to heat in this new place, so you are cool. You could actually do it if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I could.
I
could, but it's just that I can't justify it.
Well,
so it stays right now. I have it set to 72.
See, that's the thing. My wife sets it to 72 or 71, but our house is, I guess, insulated well, or the way it sits, it just stays cooler. So if you ever need some cool time, just come over to my house, and you'll be like, hey, when did you guys get a penguin?
But I would think too, like, I would think that Marty would, because you're not a fan of it, and she likes to save money. Mm-hmm. So I would think she would want to turn up the temp.
No, this is her thing. She likes, I guess, because she spends so much time in the house during the week. I guess she feels like she controls it. I guess, and it's like a non-starter. Like I cannot. I don't have a voice in this one, and I finally was just like, okay, fine. And so then what I do, and then I will, when it's cold, I'll put on like a jacket, like my down jacket that I have when it's really cold outside, and I'll be sitting there and I'm comfortable like that, and she's like, "You're being so dramatic." I'm like, "No, you forced my hand. I'm actually warm now in this house with this," and we can't get the temperature regulated for us. But Gavin, like you said, you like to sleep cold though, right?
Yeah, we used to change the temperature to like 65 at night when we had like these giant blankets, and it was just easier to sleep and be cozy. And
I do like that.
But for the sake of the power bill, stopped doing that a little while ago and just transitioned to like thinner blankets.
Yeah.
And so I'll set it at 68. But then during the day, like I only bump it up to 70. Like, and I just
70 during the day? Even that's cold.
I don't feel like it's cold in my house though. But I also am like a heater. Like there's a lot of warmth inside.
Yeah, Betty Rock has no layers of fat on her, which which she has no insulation.
Yeah.
So a good problem to have.
But there is too where like when you sleep at night, you do want to be cold so that you can snuggle under the blankets. And so
when I go to a hotel though, for whatever reason I do crank it down.
Hey,
like
that's their problem.
Yeah, that's not.
You ain't paying for that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just paid resort fees for nothing.
Oh, I would set it to whatever temp I want.
65. Just
I had a friend that was doing a Groupon to go to Great Wolf Lodge, which is like one of the water park hotels.
I love that place.
Yeah, so cool. Very expensive. But his sister got like a Groupon, and so they're going to be able to do it for like the first thing was like $139, and then that like wasn't available, and so they had to do one up $159. So he's checking out. It's like, all right, you know what? This is still good. So he checks out, goes all the way through, and then at the very end, the last screen, he's ready to hit purchase, and it throws up another thing of resort fee, $75. Mm-hmm. Resort fee. And they're like, you get internet and that's it. So
you have to pay for that?
Yeah. No, resort fee you have to pay. So they basically and a lot of hotels have gone to this now, and it's how they offset the heating and cooling probably. But yeah, like you have to pay for parking at most hotels now, and you have to pay resort fees. And resort fees are just a crime. It's a money grab. It's all it is. It's so
everything
wrong.
Is.
Oh, it drives me nuts. Speaking of driving me nuts, we were talking about this the other day, the impact or the climate change people that had blocked the road going into Burning Man. Remember
Here
that?
we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember.
No, I'm gonna be very calm. I'm gonna be very calm here today. So I was watching TikTok, obviously. I'm starting to get great news from TikTok. So I'm watching this, and all of a sudden, Gavin and I watch F1 and the F1 series, which is Formula One racing. And you got guys going around the track at 200 plus miles an hour, and it's a dangerous sport, and you could seriously die. And one little thing on the track could be a huge problem. So there were these 4 climate change people. They hop this fence and they go out and they sit in the middle of the track where the cars are going to be coming by to like protest and bring awareness to climate change. And at that point, I'm like, well, if you hit one of them, they are going to die instantly. And then your car is probably going to shred apart and hit something and you could die. And also they can like just get on TV to protest climate change, which is so horrible. Like, you're so worried about the environment. Oh, getting worked up. You're so worried about the environment that you're willing to put somebody else's life in danger. You have your priorities out of whack. Right. You are the problem. You have just become the problem with this society. And it's like, I was like, they should have not moved them. They should have let them get run over and been like, oh, yep, sorry. That's what happens.
Is that what they did do?
They moved
the race
them.
had already started?
Oh, yeah, the race was going. And so the track workers came out. And it's funny because the track workers have brooms for debris and everything, and they came out and they put their brooms down and grabbed the people by their wrists and drug them off. I would have been like, I got a broomstick. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you a few times, and you're going to move on your own. I'm not going to pull my back moving you. And so they dragged them all off of the thing, and then the police come running in there, and the people are like, climate change is a problem. Like, okay, fine.
They probably expected people to pull them off.
Exactly. I think that's what they did. It is like they weren't going to, in their heads, they're like, oh, we're not going to get hit, but we'll get our moment and our shirt on TV. But it was
people are talking about it.
Exactly. But
like
it was
here.
in this moment that I came across something that I think should be new. These are children that need to be spanked. Like, we stopped spanking kids a long time ago, and that, I think, is kind of a problem. We have kids running amok. But these are adult children that need to be spanked. So what should happen is, I understand police brutality and things like that. You don't want, you want to limit the amount of violence cops have to inflict on people and chokeholds and all that other stuff. So here's what you do. You institute that cops cannot use chokeholds, but they can institute adult spankings. And they can, within their rights, they can lean them over their leg and they can paddle the tar out of them, okay? Not going to kill them, but it's going to humiliate them. And the cop is at least going to feel vindicated and feel good after that. So that is my plan for this, is adult spankings.
Your plan, though.
Yes.
Funny how that idea is so simple and yet so, I think, impactful. Like, I think it could actually work.
Yeah.
If you embarrass these people, then they won't want to do it.
Can you imagine that? The videos of them just paddling them? Like, that is enough out of you. Now go, Johnny. I think it'd be super funny.
Speaking of this, maybe I'll get on a little platform for a little bit.
Delightful.
I was listening to a podcast about crime. Go figure.
Yeah.
And it was about this woman who was obviously the victim of a crime, but due to a man who was supposed to get 30 years for something he had done before,
that's
because
an even
of
bigger
good
problem.
because of good behavior and because of overpopulation of the jail, they let him go early, and then he did what he did before.
Yeah.
And it just makes me angry because it just goes to show there's some, I know that ultimately this world is going to come to its demise, but we're only getting worse. Right. And to the point where jails are becoming overpopulated. And so they're like, if you're a good boy, we'll release you early.
Right.
And then another innocent person pays for their life because we didn't have enough room in the jails.
Yeah. Oh, it's a travesty. And it's such a hard thing recidivism of people going back to jail is a huge problem. And then you have a few people that get it right, but then you have a bunch of people that the system is broken, and it just creates this revolving door.
Well, and also too, they'd make it now where it's like they don't necessarily want to leave. Yeah. Like, I know there was one story I heard about where the guy robbed a bank, and then he sat outside with the money.
Yeah, he didn't
even want to get chased. Like he just wants to be taken back because he doesn't know what to do with his life. Like
he had been in there so long.
Yeah, and he has friends.
Yeah.
So it's like a little club for them.
Yeah.
Like they just want to go back. And then even something you were talking about yesterday where now they want to make it where they can transition and give them surgeries and stuff. Like we are making it too comfortable.
Yeah.
For
well,
them.
I can tell you this about my brother's situation. He did not want to go back. Like it was bad. Like the place.
So
he
what
was
makes
in,
it where some don't
it's
care?
different places, you know. Yeah, and also too, like some people, they're like, well, I know this life. I'm used to it. Like that one guy you're talking about had been in for a long time, and he was like, I'm lost out here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like dependent on who's in essence like waiting for you.
Yeah.
It depends on how long you were in there like the first time. Like
you
if
have a
you've
family that cares about you,
will
it's
fight
going
for
to be
you.
different. Yeah, and like,
It's ultimately those people become your family.
yeah, for him, he never wants to go back, obviously. But like the place he was in Florida, super hot, and no AC, no heating, so it was either hot or cold. And they were having 100-degree, 105-degree days, and it always got really bad. And he has a friend that's still there, and his friend is going through it now. And that heat drives people even madder, you know, and it just creates all kind of problems. So it's. Some places are really bad. Others are like kind of country clubs, and there's no consistency. You know, I think you have to definitely. It shouldn't be a vacation for sure. It should be hard, you know. But I do think that they need ways to help people not go back, and whether that is going, okay, well, let's get you trained and let's get you something that will help you on the outside. Let's have places that will employ you so that you can at least not have to do something you did to survive, you know, and get you back. Now the guy you're talking about, that's just that he's broken, you know, and murdering people but it's so funny. This morning I was thinking about you when I was coming into work today, and I can't remember what started it. I remember I was taking my medicine, and there was something that made me start thinking about true crime shows.
Like, are you being poisoned?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But I thought, what is our fascination with it? And I was trying to think of, I'm like, okay, so Betty Rock watches all these shows. She loves it. And I'm like, what is it? Because it's kind of macabre when you think about it. Why is this the entertainment that we seek out? Is it the idea of not knowing and then solving? Or what is it that you think attracts you to it?
Also, too, why is it that mainly it's women that are the bigger, like, they're more
Consumers
fascinated
of it. Right.
by the
and it's the ones that are usually the crimes are about bad things that happen to them.
I was gonna say it's not the multitude of those crimes that you listen to. I feel like the kidnappings, like guys don't get kidnapped.
No,
I know they do.
Very rare.
I don't want to like make that blanket statement.
Right.
But
I don't know what it is. I think to me, I watch it and to me it's like a puzzle, or just to be the drama, or the
preparation manual.
Yeah. I don't really know, because I have thought about that. I'm like, I think it's there's something wrong about, there's a new episode out of my favorite podcast or whatever, and I start listening to it. But then when it comes
it's somebody's worst day that they've ever had, yet we consume it. And I'm not judging you. I'm just asking the questions as to why.
I heard, I think it was Keith Morrison, which he's my favorite on Dateline, and he was talking about how he felt guilty for coming and interviewing these people on their and talking and bringing back memories of the worst day of their life. But then he said he came to find out that, if anything, he was bringing a voice to the victim, like letting their story be told, and giving the family that was left behind an opportunity to share like what's changed through it. Like a lot of nonprofits have started because of victims.
That's very true. Yeah.
And so it kind of gets the word out about that.
Yeah, you find a lot of people that have gone through something super traumatic, and then it motivates them so that they can help other people avoid it, which is a great byproduct.
But it's the same thing too with, like, you know, when the Titanic movie came out back in '97, it was huge. It was all about death, like people dying, innocent people dying. I don't know what it is about. I honestly don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we watch them.
It was a huge box office hit.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is.
look at all the horror movies. We're fascinated by the
Those
macabre.
I'm not.
I'm not either.
No.
But people consume them, and you're
Or
why?
the possession ones. I don't do that at all.
Those really.
I tell you
freak
what
me
I
out.
do like, and I was just talking about this with a friend of mine because she was saying she cannot. I was telling her about that episode I listened to, and I was telling y'all about the guy that got mauled by the grizzly bear.
Oh, that was horrible.
I was telling her about it, and I was like, I was so not delighted. I don't know, but I was just like shocked by it all.
Yeah.
And I was telling her the story, and she was like, I can't listen to that stuff because she lives alone, and she was like, those images will stick with me.
Yeah,
and
that one turned my stomach.
Yeah, she cannot listen to it. She can't even think about it. And to me, there's something different about. I might have gotten it from my dad because we always talk about how we love booger movies.
Yeah,
and booger movies are just like those movies where it's not bloody. Like you think about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, it's
nothing.
gross.
I don't want any of that. But it's like the movies like The Village or Signs. You know, like there's
suspense.
Something out there.
It's creepy, but not
it's
like
creepy. Yeah, exactly. Like I love that kind of stuff, but I have so many friends that are like, I can't even fathom thinking about that. But I could sit there by myself and watch it and be fine.
I think those directors do a good job, though, of doing something and creating like this suspense without having it's like doing more with less when it comes to those movies instead of just a movie where they're like, hey, let's cut body parts off and let's just do something to get a reaction out of people.
Like those Saw movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like who enjoy? I don't
like
understand enjoying that.
That there's something wrong.
I was gonna say so the Bear podcast though, where he is, you told us the horrifying story. When you're listening to that,
now people are going to be like, "What was the story?"
Is it him? Are they including the story when they tell the story? Do they include like sound effects?
No.
Okay.
They did not. That would be rough.
You retelling the story was something where I'm like, oh, I can receive that well. I think if I was listening and it was just like, also this guy's talking about it, and then you kind of hear the bear, and then you hear what the bear. I'd be like, oh, okay.
They don't do that. No. But then there's another podcast that I really love, and I've told y'all stories about from that. And there's stories that are creepy because they're like, there's no ending to it.
That's what I don't like, though. I need closure. I need to know how it resolved. Any
and
story
I'm okay with that.
any story that's like, and it could have been this or maybe this. Like
They're
that
still
drives
out
me
there.
nuts.
Like, that one I was telling y'all about with the guy that he picked up he was the funeral director guy. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like stories like that where you're just like, did that really happen or did it not? And you don't know.
Yeah, see, I had no desire.
Oh, I love that.
But I
kind
love
of
how
stuff.
like you sent me on the Bear podcast, which.
So you went and listened to that
I
one?
did. I listened to the whole thing, and Marty got sick. Like listened to it. We're driving and listened to it, and I'm like, man, my stomach doesn't feel so good because it was so graphic.
Why are we doing this?
But then if I ever send Betty a TikTok where an animal has been even remotely bumped by something,
I don't want to know. I do not want to know.
But when the animal is winning, I guess over a human, it's fine.
I had my dad point that out to me one time because we were watching that movie Lake Placid.
With the alligators and Betty White.
Huge. Oh, was she in it?
Betty White was in it.
It was so long ago, but I was young. I was probably like junior high or high school watching it, and
99?
I just came apart when they used a cow to try and lure.
There's bait.
Lure, and even with Jurassic Park, they did that with a goat.
The goat,
and it messed me up. And my dad goes, you are more concerned about the animal than you are a human being.
Yes.
And that is so true. And it's terrible. I know it's not right.
To this day.
Yeah, because if I had to choose between Buford Beans or you, I'd be like Buford Beans because bless him.
I know. I'm a dead man. Absolutely, I get it.
But I know that it's wrong, and I don't want to ever lose the idea of that is wrong. That you should treasure human life over animals. I agree with that.
That's when you become protesters.
Right, exactly. So but I will say that it's hard when you hear stories all the time on the news of people being like, this horrible person did this and this horrible person did that. You're like, dogs don't do that. Cats don't do that.
Speaking of horrible people doing things, Florida, not that was a bad segue. Just you think I'm going to say Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is horrible. That's not what I'm saying.
He just said it.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Wally at all. Wally.
He actually was talking about the hurricane and how it went through Florida. And there's things I do like about Ron DeSantis where he just says, okay, this is how it's going to be. You know, he's very Trump-like in some things, but he doesn't go crazy like to the far extreme like Trump does. But he basically was saying with all the storm debris and was, talking about reports of damage and debris and looting. And he had a little warning. He said, people have the right to defend their property in this part of Florida. You've got advocates and proponents of the Second Amendment. I've seen signs in different people's yards in the past of these disasters that say, you loot, we shoot. You never know what's behind the door. And this is the governor making that statement. And he said, we are not going to tolerate looting in the aftermath of a natural disaster. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you would try to do something like that on the heels of a Category 4 hitting this community. You go break into someone's house and you're trying to loot. These are people that are going to defend themselves and their families, and we are going to hold you accountable from a law enforcement perspective at minimum. And it could be even worse than that, depending on who's behind the door. And like that's how. But see, that's how I grew up. I grew up in Florida, and Florida definitely had a kind of like a don't mess with Texas standpoint on crime and buffoonery. It was always like, you play the fool, you get what you get.
And there's two different sides to the story, or two different sides that you could see play out. Like, for instance,
here's the 9 coming out in her.
I know. But hear me out.
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
there's been stories of like this guy that was trying to break into a home and then he fell through a sunroof.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The thing in a house.
The skylight.
He fell through it, fell on a kitchen knife and stabbed himself.
Yeah.
And so he sued them and he won.
Yeah, it's
sued
lunacy.
the homeowner and he
Lunacy.
won. Now, on the other hand, I heard the story about these kids that in high school, it was like this trend to walk into someone's garage at night if the door was open and you take something.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It is stupid.
That's stealing.
Yeah.
But here's what
There's
happens.
this trend to steal.
Right. And so here's what happened. So this kid, he wanted to be cool.
Right.
So he goes into this guy's garage, takes something, and he gets caught by the homeowner, and the homeowner shoots him and he dies.
Yeah.
But the difference is that the homeowner knew that this boy was coming to his home. He actually lured a boy in because he kept the garage door open and he kept his wife's purse within viewing range.
Sure.
So he was actually wanting someone to
Right.
come and rob him so
Right.
that he could teach this kid a lesson.
That's not right either.
And that's
obviously.
not right. So
And he killed
all
him?
that to say, yeah, he killed him. All that to say, like DeSantis saying what he did, I hope that people don't get too trigger happy and they're like looking for someone that could possibly be looting them, but they're really not.
Right.
I don't know. You have to be careful.
And it's weird too, like in survival situations, like this hurricane was not as bad as many others have been. And sometimes you're in places where no one has anything and you're looking for, well, how do I make it through the day? And, there's water over here in this house. I'm going to go get that. There's a difference between that and people running in and stealing your TV set and stealing your car and everything. And so I do think people have the right to defend their property. And if you start a crime, you get what you get. If you're outgunned, you're outgunned. And I know that seems very insensitive. And I know that people say, well, stealing shouldn't be a capital offense. Well, you shouldn't do it anyway. Like if you don't start down that road, you go home that night, Right. And so if you don't make the first bad decision, the second thing that happens doesn't happen.
Don't put yourself in a situation where you could get shot.
Yeah, it's on you. Like I've never been shot because I've never looted. Somehow I was trained, I was taught the right thing of work hard and do and respect people, and in times of crisis, help them. That's how I was raised. And these, oh boy, the smash and grabs, those send me through the roof. I watched one on TikTok the other day. These large group of women were like at a CVS and they were grabbing and they were running out, and this guy was standing there and he's tripping them, he's pushing them down, he's grabbing their items from him, and I'm like, yes sir, yes sir, absolutely, you should be doing that.
Yeah, because if you just let them keep getting away with it,
they'll
then
continue. And
what's
who's
the
going to end
point?
up paying? You're watching prices go up because of this. You're watching communities that now are losing Walmarts and Targets and things like that because they're like, it's not worth it. You guys are playing the fool. It's not worth it. We're not going to have this here.
And businesses are shutting down because they're losing. And then people are losing their jobs.
Yeah, which then forces more desperation, and you get these cycles because of greed and because of sin, and that's the crazy part of all of this stuff. But anyway, Lady Rock, what do you got?
I'm on to happier things.
I know, what do you got?
So the Golden Bachelor.
Oh yeah,
71-year-old. I thought his name was Jerry, but I think his name is Gary.
I heard Gary last night.
But it's spelled Gerry.
That's Jerry.
Yeah.
This guy's an idiot already.
Oh my gosh. So he's 71 years old. He is a widow. But
he looks good for 71.
Yes, he does.
Like he's held himself together.
Yes. And so we finally see a teaser for the 30 women that are going to be vying for his heart. And the good news is they're all at least 60 years old.
Yeah, so that's only 11 years younger than him. That's not bad, especially when you get to that age.
No, exactly.
I went through the photo. I saw the photo of it, and I have seen nothing from anybody. Looks only, and I started ruling out all the people, and I got it down to 3.
You
are the problem.
No, I judged it. I know because I know what he's going to do. And one of the 3 I kept in there for the final 3 is a lady who I guarantee you from the looks of her is crazy, but he's going to hang on to her a lot longer, and she's going to cause a lot of drama, and she shouldn't be there in the end. But he, as guys tend to be on this show, will be stupid.
Well, if you see the picture, you'll notice that the casting director, he obviously didn't go to the local church potluck, Walmart, or the garden center at Lowe's. So a couple of them are real estate agents. A few of them are health and wellness types. Some of them work in education. Some are teachers. There's multiple business women. There's a designer, a former Chicago Honey Bears cheerleader, nice. A pro aging.
The Chicago Honey Bears, not even the Bulls.
No.
Chicago Honey Bears. It's got to be. It's got to be like baseball. I'm guessing it's like a minor league baseball would be my guess. Oh, but they don't have cheerleaders. Minor league basketball? Anyway.
A pro aging coach. That could be helpful.
Yeah.
And then a therapist. And while only about half of them are retired, all of them play a sport that Wally himself loves.
Pickleball.
That's going to be so good.
So I bet one of the dates is going to be a pickleball
Has to be. There'll be a pickleball challenge for sure.
How many, for that episode, let's say, though, you got to go with the over-under on how many injuries you get from that episode. Like over-under, 5 people.
There'll be people hurt.
My hip and ankle.
It'll be interesting. This is what will be interesting. The Bachelor, there are episodes that are super salacious, or whole seasons that are super salacious. And then there are other ones where you have people that have kind of some morals, and so they're way less than that, and they're a little more wholesome, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of like that. This will be really interesting because this is an older generation. So you're hoping, you're praying to God that this guy is a good guy, and he was raised from that old school, and he respects women, and the season won't need to be salacious, and it will be actually a sweet thing that kind of redeems the nonsense of The Bachelor.
And I think that's possible, and I hope they realize that's possible because, like you were saying, in the regular Bachelors and Bachelorettes, it's almost like maybe they saw the viewings going down, and they were like, we need to cause drama.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to make it salacious to keep people watching.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to the older generation, we don't need that. You look at Hallmark films; they're huge, and there's no salaciousness whatsoever. And so I hope that they see that and they realize we just want something good.
Yeah, this is your chance to actually just do something that feels good. But they're going to have a crazy couple women in there that are going to start drama.
Because I saw the video, the teaser for it, and there was one woman that looks like she's had a lot of work done.
Yeah.
And that she's not going to put up with people's
That might be
crap.
the one that I have going a long way in this, but then eventually not making it. Because it always takes the guy longer to find out. Here is the thing about reality shows is we see it all that's been edited. They don't see any of this stuff. And so they don't get the full story or the backstory. And so they're like, oh, I had this date with this person. She was really nice. Why does everyone hate her? She's great to me, And so I can see why you give that person the benefit of the doubt and you hold them longer until they show you their cards, or enough people are like, this woman is crazy.
Well, and I think, too, it's going to be easy for a lot of the contestants to get into the hearts of viewers because a lot of them are widowed.
Yeah.
And so you want to hear those stories. And also, too, I think some of them are divorced after being married for so long, and so you want to hear those stories too. I think we'll easily find our favorite.
Yeah,
people.
I think it'll be interesting, and I still contend they should at some point in time during this throw in a 35, 40-year-old.
No,
yeah, just
stop.
like you know how they always bring one or two women in, like, and then the whole house is like, what? Why are they bringing them here? We've done it, and they all turn on them. Like, just bring in a 35 or a 40-year-old.
And sadly,
that is going to upset the apple cart, man.
Sadly, I know that I could see it happening.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance,
Gary Larry's gonna be like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was just doing some recon on Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And finding out that he is engaged to
How old is he?
a 35-year-old. He's 61.
Oh,
she's 35 or 34.
It gets a little worse too. Like when he first met
worse,
her.
and I even did more digging into it.
Okay.
So
Spill the tea.
She was 22 and he was 49 when they first met.
And it was on the
she
set.
was
of-
on the set of Hannah Montana,
Yes.
which is the show that Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter Miley Cyrus starred in when she was like 12 or 13.
That would have been like me and my daughter because I was she's 24, so 2 years ago. He would have been a younger parent, but 2 years ago she would have been 22 and I would have been 53.
Miley Cyrus is 30 and he is engaged to a 34-year-old.
Which basically they could have been friendly on the set, like her and
and they
this
were.
lady. Okay.
But he did say that he does remember at one point like being backstage or something and that this girl, she goes by Fire Rose or something.
Sure.
He saw her and he was like, there was just a deep connection there. But he didn't say anything or do anything.
But at least she was 22, like at that time.
But still, at least 22.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, he's 49.
He's 49, pushing 50.
He's on a set with a bunch of teenagers.
It's disgusting.
But there are artists in the past. But Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis.
I know, he married his cousin.
Elvis
didn't marry his cousin,
but he married
Jerry Lee Lewis
Scylla
did.
when he met
I know.
her
She
at
was
15.
like 14, 15. I know, but he did wait. I don't want to talk about Elvis. I want to talk about Billy Ray Cyrus.
Don't you dare.
Don't you muddy Elvis.
The thing is that they started writing music together and all this stuff.
Sure.
And he was married to, I think her name was Trish. And to think that he's now engaged to a 34-year-old and he's 61.
Yeah.
And he met her when she was 22 is just got ickness.
I feel
it's
better.
Giving ick.
Okay, I feel better that he met her at 22. If she had been on the set at 16 and he met her and then remembered her and she was really cool, you'd be like, oh man, alive.
To me, I still see it that way. At 22,
she's
what's
an
the
adult.
difference? No,
22-year-olds are children.
What?
I know.
4-year difference between her and an 18-year-old. They have so much in common. It's just disgusing.
22.
I think it's.
Please stop talking because it's just making you look worse.
Well, no, 22 is a full blood adult. You know, it's not like even like a 19-year-old. You're like, oh, I don't know.
I think this is
What
like
is
a winnable.
the age gap between 49 and 22?
27.
27 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's a
you
lot.
at 55.
It's a ton.
Subtract 20. What is 55 from 27? I don't know.
You're looking at a 28-year-old.
Yeah.
Which is what I am.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
And it's only 4 years difference from Haley?
I'm not saying
Which is the same as Billy Ray
saying
Cyrus
that
and
you're
Miley
like-
Cyrus.
I'm not saying that I would ever do that because I actually like care about like having conversations with somebody.
You
like
and Marty get along.
You don't want your
Right.
like girlfriend to sound like this.
Yeah.
Like that's there's probably a world where that's where it was for a degree.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't look like he's some guy who's, probably like crazy mature.
Like I
No.
would not want to have somebody that I could not hold a conversation with or enjoy being around because we were so different.
You don't share anything in common. Like like what I mean, for them,
You'd
They-
be constantly teaching her things.
They share music in common,
Right.
and that
Music
is
is
deeper
powerful.
than anything.
Yeah. I get it. That is a huge age gap, and people that but again, it's all a legal age gap. You might be like, oh, this is horrible, but it's all very legal, and so it's the people that blur those lines.
You sound like
is tough.
probably what Billy Ray Cyrus is saying. I know it sounds bad, but it's completely legal.
Miley, I swear,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah, it's not. That is not where I would ever play in that into the pool
No.
personally. But
That'd be like you being engaged to one of Haley's friends who's only 4 years older than her.
yeah, that would I could see that being a problem.
But can you imagine?
Yeah, I can see that being a problem.
Because this goes back to the Golden Bachelor. He's 71 years old, right? If they brought a 35-year-old
Yes,
in,
how funny would that
that's
be?
twice his.
I know,
He'd be twice
but
her
I'm
age.
telling you, it would blow that thing up.
Is he
The
even
drama,
wealthy?
and he would keep her a lot longer than.
What if?
It's like, are you a producer?
And I'm sad that I'm getting on this
Thank you.
because
Join me.
I don't want it.
dude, don't.
Join me.
But I could see them totally bringing in like
Yeah.
the contestants, their daughters,
Yes.
and their daughters being
no.
like there to visit.
Oh, and then he hits on the daughter. Oh, that would be so wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's what you want.
No, I don't.
You want to make it salacious.
No,
I
I-
want like sweetness.
Okay.
I want them to go on a pickleball date and hold hands.
I do too. I would love that. I would
the
love
ER.
that. There is that one reality show on, I think it's on TLC, that was like these moms are all in this house, this mansion, and they set them up to all meet younger guys. Okay, so you're going to meet all these younger guys. So when they reveal all the younger guys, it's all of their sons. And so basically, you're there as a mom watching your son date one of the other women that's in the house that like you don't like. It was. I watched episode 1 to see what it was. I was like, ugh. I watched episode 2 and was like, oh man, for the love. And then I was out. I'm like, no, this is
good.
so
But it's
wrong.
because you're putting those people in a box where it's like you can see them differently. Like
Yeah.
if you have a kid that's the same age or close, you should see them a little differently.
Yeah,
than
you
as
would
a
hope.
potential date.
Yes, exactly. You would definitely hope
Billy
that
Ray
would,
Cyrus isn't, but
Yeah.
don't tell his
He's a
heart,
rock
his
star.
achy breaky heart.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what do you got for birthdays?
I don't have
later
any
on?
birthdays,
Oh, well,
and
there
I
you
think
go.
we're fine with that.
Yeah, we have gone 35 on this bad boy. So there you go. We've covered a lot of ground today, and we appreciate you listening to the podcast, and thank you for being a potty.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.